Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Joe's About podcast. Today's guest is going to be Mr. Marco de la Garza. Marco de la Garza, we're going to be talking some wrestling. Him and I are going to geek out on wrestling. So, a lot of information wrestling wise. Why? Today's Survivor Series day, and we're going to go ahead and discuss anything and everything. So, stay tuned. Here we go. Marco, welcome. How's it going? How are you?
Hello, man. How you doing?
Man, it's been a minute, but yeah, I'm doing all right.
Been a minute, man.
Thank you
Been,
for
been-
taking a moment to talk wrestling with us, man. How you been?
yeah, no problem. No problem. I'm busy, surviving the pandemic. Just it's been one of those years, crazy years, and we're just taking it as we go. You know how it is. So
Yeah,
yeah,
pandemic, man. It's really affected everybody in the way they do business, right?
yeah, yeah. From work to school, everything's just been crazy. So
Even
um,
even the way wrestling matches are done, right?
oh, for sure. Yeah, I miss going to wrestling shows. Like I love traveling to go see shows when I can, even local indie shows. I just saw recently they had some shows here in McAllen this past weekend, and so I didn't get to go, but it's cool that it's slowly coming back, and
Yeah.
so hopefully by this time next year or sooner, start going to shows again like normal, seeing crowds, and it's kind of cool seeing AEW's doing their thing with crowds, and then I did like the whole Thunderdome kind of thing what WWE's doing, more bringing more fans into it again. Because man, watching wrestling without fans in the crowd or anything like that, it was just
It's weird.
it's weird, and it's sad in a way, but it's slowly coming around,
That's
and now with Survivor Series, today, we're recording today, Survivor Series day, so um it's exciting, so it's a good thing.
the crowd is definitely the X factor when it comes to the unpredictability of wrestling, especially most specifically with WWE.
Yeah.
There was a time when WWE, their slogan was uh, "It's unpredictable" or anything can happen.
Yes. Yeah.
And and sure enough, man, I remember being at Houston for WrestleMania X7, and
Oh,
one
that
of
was
the
that was a great WrestleMania. Yeah.
one of the items that I had in my mind is, well, let me jump the barricade and let me run towards the ring.
Wow.
In my mind, I said, you know what, let's do it, but didn't happen.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I don't want to. Yeah, I wouldn't do so. Get arrested. I don't know how people do that. They just. I went to a Raw one time in Corpus, and it was a guy jumped in the ring, and it was like, what are you doing? I don't understand the fence mentality of jumping into the ring and trying to get there 15 minutes, I guess, but no, it's not worth getting arrested for.
No, not I mean, and not only that, but like when it's live, that factor is there.
Yeah.
But with television, there's so much editing that goes on or delays
Oh,
that are in
for
place. So even if you did it, it never happens.
yeah, or they'll just cut out to something else. So yeah, I get
Yeah.
you. I
So
get
Matt, okay. So what attracted you to wrestling as a child, man?
you. My dad, my dad, um, my dad to this day watches wrestling, everything that's on.
Hmm.
I'll be honest, I don't, it's very rare I watch Impact, but I'll watch it, but he'll order the pay-per-view, um, but he'll watch everything and anything that's on. So it was my dad growing up. He used to take me to shows, took me to Raw. He took me to a Survivor Series in San
Hmm.
Antonio that year, where Bret Hart, lost against Bob Backlund, where his mom threw the towel in the ring, and so that was one of my first Survivor Series, which was pretty awesome. But it was my dad, growing up watching it, and I just continued to watch it as I went, got older. I kind of backed away after high school. I went to college, just doing other things. But then I slowly got back into it again. It's just one of those things that's always just pulls at your heartstrings, and you just once you're a fan, you're always a fan.
You're always a fan.
And
Yeah.
like, and especially, and like I know people that they grew up watching it, you know, and they're not fans anymore. But when you talk about wrestling with them, I see their excitement in their face. They don't want to admit it. Like yeah, I was a fan. During the Attitude Era or the WCW Monday Night Wars days. Like there was something. They're still a fan deep down inside. So,
you,
but then
you're
there's fans
talking
like
to one of
us.
those. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're talking to one like that you just described.
yeah, yeah. So it starts with family,
Yeah.
and I've had other family watch it too, and it's good having friends that watch it and having that camaraderie, and it's just some good stuff, man, and it's entertainment, it's fun, it's just a fun show.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I completely agree with you 100% with its the entertainment part, and I also agree with you with those that watched it before and don't watch it religiously anymore. However,
Yeah,
when we talk about it the way we're going to talk about it, I
yeah,
mean, it's that little twinkle in your eye. You're like, man, I remember those days.
yeah. Like I, my cousin and I we're big Bret, Bret Hart fans,
Right.
especially him. He was like, I would say he was probably a little not obsessed, but really into him.
Yeah.
And now he's older. He doesn't really watch, but you bring it up. You see it. So it's something that it's just there with you.
So Bret Hart was one of your favorite wrestlers growing up,
He was.
or the favorite?
Uh, he's one of them. But I was obviously um, I was a Hogan fan. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
Hogan was when you're a kid, Hogan's like the guy for you.
Yeah.
And he was a lot for a lot of people. He was just some he was, if you uh if he's the type of guy, if you know nothing about wrestling, but you know Hulk Hogan,
Yeah.
you know like he's one of those. He's very charismatic and he's very mainstream. So it was Hogan for me. um and then as I got older, Brett became my guy. I was a big WWF WWE guy during the Monday Night Wars, but I still watch WCW.
Right. Right. Right.
But my my fandom for Hogan obviously went away because he became a heel and slash bad guy. Um, and so Bret Hart was my guy for me. Um, I just enjoyed the way he worked, his outfit, his wrestling gear, um, and just the way he presented himself. You know, and so Bret Hart was my guy. And so when I remember that Survivor Series I went to in San Antonio, when he lost to Bob Backlund, like as a kid, to you it's like it just broke my heart. So I still remember that, because you don't expect seeing him to lose when you're gonna go see.
Right.
And it was my first time seeing him live, and then yeah, so I'll never forget that Survivor Series. But it was I still have the program to this day. But yeah, he was one of my
So,
top guys.
so did Bob Backlund did he put Bret Hart in a chicken wing? What
He
happened
did.
in that one?
I remember he put him in the chicken wing for like I felt it was like an eternity. It was probably like 10 minutes maybe. But I remember like he was in the chicken wing forever, and then like Owen Hart, got his mom. His mom was there watching the match and pulled him into the side of the ring, and it was one of those like they got to throw a towel in
Uh-huh.
kind of thing, and the mom threw
Old Dominion
the
puts
towel.
together a winning performance with precision, a #1 ranking in claims prevention.
I'm pulling up the YouTube video and there's ads. I don't have that YouTube premium.
Oh, don't worry.
But I want to remember. So you said that he put him in a chicken wing for eternity, and
Yeah, well, it felt like an eternity, but yeah, it was It was something.
Let me see here. Here we go. Here we go.
Oui, mais Bret Hart aussi, c'est un gentilhomme. Ouais, il a tout de même gagné le match. Oui, mais manque un peu de conviction. Dégagement du champion. Tous deux se relèvent péniblement et c'est Backlund qui passe à l'arrière, soulève Bret Hart et lui porte une souplesse arrière. Ça fait très mal. Ça coupe scientifique. On peut être technique. Tente de petit paquet. Allez, deux, trois. Aïe, 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 aïe.
Okay, I must be watching the wrong one because in this one, Bret Hart wins
Oh yeah,
in a small cradle. But
He's
needless
there.
to say, Bob Backlund was just a weird guy for me, man. Like I did all of a sudden he got introduced to WWF fans and we didn't know. I mean, as a kid, I never followed Bob
Yeah,
Backlund.
yeah, same here. Like, so you know, he was really big in his time, you know, and then
Yeah.
he had a comeback, you know, and WWF, I guess they pushed him really hard, you know, where he won the title.
Right.
Oh, and then eventually he lost it again to Diesel. A few seconds. I remember that Madison Square Garden match where he lost it in a few seconds.
Yeah.
So, so he was interesting. He was an interesting character.
He was a very interesting, very introverted type of guy too, man. I mean,
Yeah.
he didn't have a gimmick. He didn't have a way of like coming across or appealing to fans, other than he was just a collegiate wrestler, if I recall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Bret Hart was your guy, man. Interesting you say that because your following of wrestling is very similar to mine because Hulk Hogan was also my guy as a kid.
Yeah.
And then as he left the business to go to WCW, we got introduced, and the push was for Bret Hart. And Bret Hart, I recall that one promo that they cut where like the kid is walking and he's like Bret, and he turns around, and the thing was, I still have them too. It's one of those things where like he appealed to the masses and to the kids, and that was our new hero.
Yeah.
So the conflict between good versus evil definitely appealed to the masses in wrestling, right?
At that time, yes, for sure. The whole NWO, when NWO came out, I think that's when the line started to getting crossed. Where it was cool to cheer the bad guy.
Yeah.
And I think from what I've heard Bret say, like he wasn't too fond of that, and I think fans just wanted a change,
Mm-hmm.
at that time. So, and you got to give what the fans want, or you'll hear from them, So
It's funny you say that because I hardly follow wrestling now. However, my brother, he became like the biggest wrestling fan there is.
Sure.
And when I loved wrestling, he didn't like wrestling. So now that he loves wrestling, I don't like wrestling.
And how old are you? What's the
difference of age is I'm 37, he's 33.
Okay. So
And what I see now is that, like you said, there's this universe of wrestling fans that will tell you what to do.
Sure. Yeah, they control the narrative on.
How do you feel about that?
How well they can. I don't know how to explain it. It's fans are gonna cheer who they want to cheer for at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
And whoever gets over and whatnot. Can you just redefine the question again?
Yeah.
Like,
How do you feel about the fans controlling the narrative, the universe?
Yeah.
Because before we had writers, and
yeah, and sometimes and there's always been like right now or recently, there's there's this argument, WWE doesn't give fans what they want, and that's why it's pushing people away to go watch other shows like AEW and blah blah blah.
Mhm.
And I guess I have mixed feelings about that. Um, yes, I do want to see my guy win all the time.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, that's not how it works. Like you can't just have a good guy winning all the time, or having your person win all the time. So I do have mixed feelings about that. Um, where they control the narrative, and if their guy doesn't get their push, as they say, then we're not watching anymore. That's
Mhm.
not wrestling. Like I said, or like when I saw Bret Hart lose at Survivor Series, I didn't say I'm never watching wrestling again. I didn't feel that way. You just eventually it's a build up. It's a story.
Mhm.
Eventually, yeah, you hope your guy wins at the end of the day. But to feel like you've been cheated, you watched WrestleMania and your person lost where he should have won. I went to WrestleMania in Dallas, uh, the one with the 100,000 people over there at Cowboy Stadium or
Okay.
AT&T Stadium,
Right.
and to be honest, that WrestleMania was terrible. It was cool watching Shane and Taker and the hell, and it was cool just being at WrestleMania. Period. You know how
Mhm.
it is.
Right.
But the people that I wanted to win didn't win, or you thought should have won didn't. But it didn't push me away. I just thought, man, that's bad booking. Like it's
Right.
just the other day. So I guess it's just I have mixed feelings, I guess, towards it.
Well, and what we're talking about when we're talking about like bad booking, or we're talking about like the way it is now compared to what it was before. I mean, there was always this mystique about wrestling.
Sure.
Like you didn't know who was going to win because you thought it was real,
Of
right?
course, of course.
And and now you hit on a point where you said, well, that's not reality. The good guy isn't always going to win.
Yeah.
But do we really want to make it aligned to reality? Or do we want to keep that mystique going? Because there's always what is that? There's a term that they use in wrestling. I forget what it is, but you don't talk about who's going to win or did you take a fall. It's the unknown rule. It's the unwritten rule that you don't
Yeah.
talk about those things. But yet now people are saying, "Well, you tell me the truth." You know, are they athletes? Yes,
Of course.
because there's a lot of things that these wrestlers do that I can't do, that you
Yeah.
can't do, right? Like
No.
it takes
Yeah.
training. So that's a respectable thing. However, it's scripted, that we know. But
Agreed.
nonetheless, I feel that push of bringing it to reality, controlling the narrative by the fans is it's pushed so many people away. Additionally, the PG of it all.
Yeah.
What
It's
do you think?
too um it's too cookie cutter, I guess. As as for shows being predictable, yeah, sometimes it's obvious, like you see a match on TV and you already know, okay, I already know who's gonna win, right?
Right, right.
Um, but I think what brings wrestling fans back is those unexpected moments. Like that Survivor Series a few years ago with Brock Lesnar and Goldberg,
Hmm.
where Goldberg beat Brock Lesnar like in 30 seconds.
Hmm.
It's like those moments is what makes wrestling great. You know, and we're getting to a point where I think wrestling is just, yeah, it's predictable. Watching 3 hours of Monday Night Raw is hard to do. To
Hmm.
be honest, I don't watch it on Mondays. I watch it as as a if I'm working from home, I'll have Monday Night Raw on in the background.
Right.
I'm not I'm not really watching it because I already know what's happening. And maybe I'll watch a segment here and there, but um so yeah, I think we're at this point where it's already predictable.
Yeah, yeah,
Fans have caught on, you know, and but we're fans, just like we know movies are scripted, we know it's predetermined,
yeah.
but we always like that slight twist at the end, if it's a horror movie or whatever.
Let me ask you this other question, man. So given the whole push towards reality, do you feel? I mean, boxing was already in existence back in our days when Hulk Hogan was happening, right? Uh, and there was this one part where Vince Russo decided to script in some tough man competition, right? Where
Yeah,
Butterbean was in there and Billy
yeah.
and Bart Gunn was in there or something like that. And that was the first and only time it happened. But what
And to be
I'm
honest, when they were doing that, I wasn't watching it. Like I wasn't watching that segment. I would change it to Monday Nitro, you know,
right,
because
because it
not
wasn't
because
wrestling.
it wasn't wrestling exactly, you know. So I switched it. So yes, we do want reality. We do want stuff that like be like, oh, is that really scripted or did he really say that?
Right.
Um, we want those blurred lines, Um, but that whole what was that that boxing whatever like you mentioned like that stuff just turned me off.
Right. So the question that I was going towards was, do you feel like items such as UFC has kind of led people to want it to be more real?
Uh, well, I'm not a UFC guy to be honest.
Hmm.
I'll watch this whoever if it's Conor McGregor or back then Ronda Rousey or like like the big stars whatever. But if it's I think the fan bases between UFC and WWE are separate, but there is that mix, obviously,
Hmm.
Like I have buddies that watch both and they're like into both,
Right.
but there's guys like me where I'm a more of a wrestling guy.
Right.
So when I do see like UFC or Bellator, like there's a lot of wrestling elements, and I think UFC is trying to uh take that from WWE,
Hmm.
or wrestling, professional wrestling, because it's engaging, it's entertainment, you know. Uh, so it just depends on the person, I
Yeah.
guess.
I saw it more recently. Most recently, there was this promotion called Combate Americas, and
Hmm.
they were bringing Albert Del Rio to
Yeah,
fight Tito Ortiz.
I went to that show.
And
You know,
well, I was at the conference, and the way they scripted that, like you mentioned, it's so sports entertaining, so wrestling
the
icon.
hype. Yeah, the hype towards it. And you
Correct.
gotta you gotta have those elements. Like yes, you can put two people in a cage and fight, and yeah, it may be entertaining. But if there's no hype between, like it's like wrestlers. You can put two wrestlers in a ring, but if you know nothing about them, you're not engaged. You
Well,
know.
and then to add to that, there's the TMZ factor. So Alberto Del Rio, like he's a human being just like you and I.
Yeah,
But most recently, he was in the news as well for beating up some.
that's what I saw too. Like,
So that also, it brings that different element of, wait a minute, he was our champion. He was a Mexican champion for. Is this really who we want our kids to watch? Like there's just people want to bring that element into it, right?
yeah.
But wrestling is wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Like let's go, let's take it back to the old days where we didn't go into their personal lives. We just waited until they came into the ring. I think. What do you think?
Oh yeah. Um. Yeah. I'm not. I love when they just keep it storyline,
Right.
and outside their life, Like there's no need to bring personal, but sometimes it's great that they bring real life situations into it, but it's not, how do I put this? It's not something I watch for.
Yeah.
Um, like Del Rio, like if he came back to WWE, I don't want, the the writers to put that, oh, he's been arrested or he's been,
Right.
where he broke up with so and so, like I don't need to know that stuff.
Hmm.
Just make him engaging, make him entertaining, and then we'll go through it.
Hmm.
Um, like Del Rio a few years back, I remember when he was in WWE, he was doing that whole when Mexican American thing where he was, what was his name? Um, but his storyline was just not engaging.
Right. Right.
So no, I don't think bringing actual real life situations into the wrestling world is
Beneficial to the
beneficial.
sports.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, it all goes back to the story writing. Like, for example, Randy Macho Man Savage, Miss Elizabeth, a match made in heaven and a match made in hell. SummerSlam, right?
Mhm.
I mean, when I saw that, I mean, I was just like, OMG, like that. Wow, they're getting married. Like, that's so cool. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, is this for real? You know what? It is real. Um, yeah, but it made you question, like, wow, they're bringing real life into that's pretty cool.
yeah, that's
That's pretty
cool,
cool.
and it's nice when they do that every now and then.
Correct.
You know, uh, and so but yeah, I agree. Like it's nice when, like I said, when Paul Heyman is doing a promo about Vince McMahon, and you're like, did he really say that about Vince McMahon? And and then
Right.
a few years later, I see Paul Heyman, doing a Q&A, and he's talking about that promo, saying, Vince was like, okay with it, just do what you got to do, big money with it. So you're like, oh, but at that time, you thought, man, that is he really talking bad about Vince McMahon that way?
Yeah.
Is he
Yeah.
really shooting on him? So it's it at the time, yeah, but it's just a
So back in my days, I mean, back in our days, there was this magazine called Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Did you
yeah.
ever read that?
Uh, I I wasn't. I saw it every now and then,
Mm-hmm.
but I was a WWF magazine subscriber, so I would get those magazines
Yeah.
monthly, and I still have some of those. Uh, and I still, they're somewhere
In the attic.
in the attic. Um, but yeah, and that's where like I ordered like my WWF merch and my sunglasses and my all that stuff is through those magazines. So yeah, I've been a
you
fan.
you were the cool kid that had the Macho Man glasses, or right?
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. Well, I don't know how cool I was then, but you thought I was.
Yeah, we I mean, I say we because I was that same kid, and I remember being in middle school and uh 95, 96, and
Mhm.
having the Macho Man glasses and talking to my teacher, and my teacher was like, "Hey, are you gonna record the pay-per-view?" Back in the days when you used to record on a VCR.
Yeah, yeah.
So then I would record the pay-per-view, and oh my gosh, and lend it to my teacher, and my teacher would I would never get it back.
But back then it was cool to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Like everybody was on board watching it. Um, Monday nights, Stone Cold, The Rock, NWO, like it was it was fun to be a wrestling fan, and there was no shame in it.
Speaking of, yeah, you know what? I don't have any shame in it. I mean, I'll be the first to tell you I was a big wrestling fan. To this
Mm,
day, I was in Florida. I made it a point to go to the Hogan's Beach Shop.
that's cool. Like, yeah,
Go to
I'd
the
probably would
Hogan's
do the
Beach
same thing.
Shop, yeah, and buy merchandise, and you know, to this day, I mean, I don't know if you followed my most recent campaign,
Mhm.
but my logo was NWO
Yeah,
esque.
yeah. But I was like, man, that's cool.
Yeah, I purposely did that because there's a science to all of this. In other words, people were asking me like, why black and white? Because there's a science to the color. Like it ingrains in your mind
of your
that
childhood.
yeah, well, not no, not your childhood. What I'm getting at, the science. I wanted the brand Josabad
Mhm.
to stay in people's name, in people's eyes and mind.
Yeah,
So I did that. So you would see me walking around with the shirts, and I was like, and people would remember it and connect it. Oh, that looks like NWO. Okay,
mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. I wanted something that people could wear, that they could wear 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and
And
still
I
have
still
it.
wear NWO shirts because it's
Yeah.
still, like, it's one of those iconic logos, that people are
Yeah.
gonna recognize. So yeah, I still have my NWO shirts. Well, I recently just bought NWO shirts, uh, it's because it's your childhood. It's what you know.
Right.
So I did see your logo and I thought, man, I thought that was kind of neat. So good job,
Thank you.
man.
Survivor Series. So that's today. What's your I know you talked about Bret Hart versus Bob Backlund. You went to that show in Survivor Series, but is that your favorite Survivor Series moment, or what is?
Uh, I went to the Survivor Series in Houston in 2017. Um, and that was a good show.
Mhm.
Um, but when I'm thinking about moments, it still goes back to that show in San Antonio. You know, um, there are just some moments you just have in your head that you remember,
Mhm.
and that show in Houston was cool. And yeah, and to be honest, I don't even remember the main event for that WrestleMania. You
Mhm.
um, can we Google that?
Who are we googling?
The 2017 Survivor Series. Let's
Let me
see.
see here. And that one right there, the
There it is.
the main event, Team Raw versus Team SmackDown.
Yeah, and
Kurt
then
Angle, Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, and Triple H versus Shane McMahon, Randy Orton, Bobby Roode,
and
Shinsuke Nakamura, and John Cena.
the only I like Survivor Series, but I think what kind of I remember Survivor Series back in the day. It was like teams,
Yeah,
like you had four matches of 5 against 5.
correct.
Now it's just like a
One.
traditional one, one female Survivor Series, one male, Raw
Yeah.
versus SmackDown. Uh, but I guess there's no incentive to win. Like
Hmm.
if a team wins, what then? You know. Um, so I guess that's kind of something that's always been wondering, like if they win okay, great, they get bragging rights, but at the end of the day, they just move on to the next pay per view.
Right.
Uh, and so the main event, I guess in 17 was Brock versus AJ, and uh, yeah, right there, that's another one. Brock's gonna win at the end of the day. Uh, and so
I think you hit a huge point. There's no incentive to win, and in my opinion, what ended up happening is that remember the part where it was minimal pay per views throughout the year.
it was like 4 a year. Yeah,
Yeah. Then all of a sudden, every month you had a pay per view. So
yeah,
what's the incentive? I mean, it's too much content, right?
yeah. Yeah, and it's luckily the network's $10 a month, and you can see pay per views every month. Where
Hmm.
AEW now is doing the pay per view every 4 months kind of deal, like the old school way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll get the AEW pay per view because I'm not. You only get it once every 4 months. So it is a lot of content. Uh, it's a lot of wrestling every week. It's a lot of wrestling.
Hmm.
Um, that Monday night, Tuesday Impact, Wednesday NXT, AEW, um, Thursday get a little break, I guess, and then Friday SmackDown.
Right.
That's a lot.
It really
um,
is.
and but it's a good thing too because fans want to watch wrestling.
Well,
And,
yeah, yeah, but like back in the day, like WrestleMania was you looked forward to it all year.
of course,
And that was like the biggest thing. I mean, I still remember I that was an event at my household. It didn't matter what happened, we're gonna
who was on? Yeah,
we're
yeah.
gonna watch WrestleMania and it's gonna be the best thing and we're gonna invite our friends, we're gonna barbecue and we're gonna have a good time. And we're gonna put up and then we're gonna put up the projector, we're gonna have a
We
screen.
did that a couple years ago, yeah, with my buddies and I. So it was great. The only issue was the show was like 8 or 9 hours long.
Yeah.
That was like, oh my gosh, like it started like at 4, ended at midnight. You're like, something's got to give.
Yeah.
And I liked the timing of this WrestleMania where it was like 4 hours. It's perfect. It sucked because there wasn't fans or anything like that, but the timing, the matches, it's to me, it's all about quality than quantity. You
Right.
know,
Right.
uh, and growing up, you knew pay-per-views were 3 hours and that was it.
Correct.
Now you're like, they're at 4. You're just like, oof, you know.
Yeah.
And WWE has cut down the pay-per-views some. They're actually like at 2.5, 3 hours now. Maybe because there's no fans or the pandemic or whatnot. But I like that because the shows end at 9:30. You can actually
Get stuff
get ready
done.
for bed. Yeah. you know.
But that was like our go-to, man. Like there's people that have Monday Night Football and football is their thing, and there's people that have baseball and baseball is their thing. But like, I mean, for us wrestling fans, we had Monday night and Monday night was our thing, and
Yeah.
and we had Sunday night on pay-per-views when it happened,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, are they just failing to create characters and good storylines? I mean, is that the main issue now?
Um, I guess it is, um like I don't think, and I heard this, I think Bully Ray said it. I heard this on Busted Open. There's gonna be like, and I agree with him. There's not gonna be another like Rock or Stone Cold or Hogan. Like it's there isn't one now. Like
Mhm.
um when I see the shows, like I'm not like, oh, like turning my head to watch the TV and be like, oh man, I gotta watch him.
Right.
I'm okay with maybe if a Brock Lesnar will come out, yeah, sure, because he's a he's a beast. But even then, he's kind of, well, he's still a beast. I'm not gonna say anything bad about Brock Lesnar. But I don't see an iconic star right now. In my opinion. Um,
Uh, Do you think social media has played a role in the diminishment of wrestling?
uh, to a degree, yes. A lot of people like to give their opinion, their voices, which is good. Um, but a lot of people are just negative. You know,
Yeah.
can't take the show for what it's worth. You know, they don't get they don't see their person get the push. Like I said earlier,
Hmm.
they're they're just negatives. They're just negative people. Um, and that's a turnoff. You know, um, but when it's really good and it's really engaging, and it's wrestling can be awesome. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. I miss those Hell in a Cell matches, the cage matches. I really would like to see that blue steel cage come back.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I um I have My friends make fun of me, but I have the ring with the blue cage. I saw it at a store the other day, at like one of those vintage toy stores.
Right.
I had to buy it. Yeah, I saw it. I was like, I'm taking it. I
Yeah.
fixed it up. I put new ropes. It was like, so yes, I'm 38-year-old man that's collecting wrestling rings. But it's who you are. It's your childhood.
But there shouldn't be any shame in that, man. I mean, I see you and you're like, I'm a 38-year-old man. There shouldn't be any shame in that because like you said, it's who you are, man. And at the end of the day, like it's something that really you got attached to and you enjoy it. That's your football. That's your boxing. That's your UFC. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
wrestling is your thing. Um, Needless to say, man, so I don't care who you are. The figure four leg lock, it's real.
it hurts.
The
It hurts.
sharpshooter is real.
The Boston Crab, it's real. Um, I've always wondered, like with the figure four, how they reverse it,
Mhm.
how it hurts the other person that was giving it. I was wondering how does that work, but but that's just a side thought. But
Yeah, it works. That was my move, man. I used to, my brother and we used to wrestle growing up. And like I
yeah,
said, I must have been like 16 years old and he was like 12. So I would put him in the sharpshooter or the
yeah,
figure four. And there was this one time in particular where I had him in the walls of Jericho.
yeah.
And this guy all of a sudden reversed it on me and I fell to the floor, man.
That's real. Like I still don't like. I look at it and I still don't understand how it hurts once you reverse it. How
Well,
it,
here I am in the walls of Jericho, right? So
yeah.
just picture that in your mind. What he did is he used all his force, his lower body force to pretty much escape from it. And I fell forward and my tooth right here
Oh man.
dug into the
Yeah.
bottom of my lip. So here I am bleeding profusely. I ended up in the hospital that day and got stitches, but it's real, man. I mean,
Yeah. No, no.
it's real.
I get you. I get you.
Yeah. But like going back to what we were talking about, man, like man, wrestling has so many deep memories for me personally. I'm sure,
Sure.
and with you and when I met up with you earlier, I was like, let's talk wrestling. You're like, yes, let's do it, right?
I always like wrestling. Like I enjoy talking about and I I've my buddies and I we've thought about doing a podcast about wrestling. There's tons of wrestling podcasts, yes, but just talking about it yourself, is it's something that we always wanted to do. We just never got around to it, family obligations or whatnot. But
uh,
so it's cool, I like talking about it, and so yeah,
you can tell your buddies you started today
yeah, yeah,
on podcast.
yeah. It's my first podcast, so
Well, I needed somewhere to like to pretty much have my creative side show.
sure,
Uh, in my personal job, like they see me as the administrator, but again, they don't know the person that I am.
sure.
And one of the comments that I've been hearing is, well, you have a fun side to you. Well, like, yeah, I mean, like
Of course,
I'm a human being too,
yeah, we're humans,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
nonetheless, man, I mean, we have our likes, we have our dislikes and so forth. And wrestling was just one of the big things for me.
sure,
And going back to the Monday Night Wars, I mean, you hit the point about like there will never be another Rock, there will never be another Stone Cold. Yeah, that's true. But if you recall back in those days when those guys were coming up, like the development of other individuals was being impacted because it was in the process of being created. I mean,
yeah,
when the Rock was coming up, um, you had Mick Foley on the other side as well, and people knew him as Cactus Jack, but he was being developed to be, well, Mankind didn't work out well, Dude Love didn't work out well, Which one's going to work out? Well, let's just do Mick Foley, stuff like that. And then on the flip side, you had individuals such as uh, Chris Jericho coming up as well, being developed.
Yeah.
So I see that now, and there's like a farm of wrestlers that can be developed, but it's not being done in a way that is productive, and maybe because there's just too much content out there. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a lot, and I don't know if writers are just not wanting to push certain individuals.
Hmm.
I remember because during the Monday Night Wars, you were competing. They were both competing, so you had to develop characters. You had to develop, storylines that were engaging and entertaining, and
Right.
um, and that's why it was so huge at the time. And then as soon as WCW got bought out, it kind of just where was the competition there?
Right.
I'm not saying they went lazy, but to a point, it just wasn't the same. Um, after and so when WWE has to rely on the old school names, like the Undertaker to come back to do a match or stuff like that, it shouldn't be that way. Undertaker probably should have retired maybe 5 years ago. Like
Hmm.
uh, and but I'm glad he's been around all these years. Don't get me wrong, but like you shouldn't have to bring old talent just to when you have so much talent already as it is, at your disposal. So it's a lot. Yeah, I agree.
Well,
Um,
and part of that probably is just a monopoly in the WWE. I mean, you and I know that they monopolize the whole industry.
sure.
Yeah. So then the competition was no longer out there. When you go back to the times of territories, I mean, it was cool to be a world class fan. It was cool to be a,
NWA.
USWA,
Yeah,
yeah, and you had your wrestlers that you rooted for.
yeah,
But in the midst of it all, obviously the ultimate prize was to go WWE, go to Connecticut, Stamford, Connecticut, and hopefully be in that venue.
yeah, sure,
But
sure. That was always the goal, or yeah. Uh,
so so where are we at now? Uh, which wrestler should I be looking out for right now?
oh man. Um, well, do you want to talk about NXT guys, or do you want to talk about just like guys that are on the roster right now, the main
I'm
roster?
I'm lost. I'm completely lost because I haven't watched in a while.
Oh, okay. Well, I love that what they're doing with Roman right now. They made him a heel bad guy,
Hmm.
and I love that he's bringing that edginess right now to WWE. Um, so that's great, and I love that the way they position Drew McIntyre, to from where he came from to where he is now,
Hmm.
being this badass, like now he's the champ, kind of thing. So
Hmm.
that's awesome. I think that's great. And then when it comes to, you know, NXT, Adam Cole, that guy's amazing, And then but what I'm noticing, and he's really good, and he's just starting. Pat McAfee, do you know him?
No.
He was the kicker for the Colts of years back. He retired. He has his own podcast now, his own Sirius XM show now, and
Uh huh.
they brought him into. But he's a big wrestling fan, and that guy, he can talk, and he's getting guys over in NXT, and you know that guy has it, and he even had a match with Adam Cole just recently, and he did really well, like for his first match,
Yeah. Yeah.
like so there's hope, and it's some good stuff coming around, and like you said, there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent, Um,
But let's be real. If you can't cut a promo, you're not gonna make it.
oh, for sure, for sure.
You got to be
Um,
relevant. You got to be entertaining. You got to be able to hold the audience's attention. So the promo is a huge part of a
oh
wrestler's
yeah,
uh
yeah,
dynamic. Oh, yeah.
yeah. You got to be charismatic, unless you're just like the exception of the rule, like a Brock Lesnar, where you could just stand there and have Paul Heyman speak for you, you know,
Or a Bob Backlund.
or Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund was a screamer. I remember.
Oh man, that guy was weird, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Hey, let's cut it down towards the end, and let's bring it to this favorite WrestleMania moment.
Ooh. Favorite WrestleMania moment. Um, man, I
There's so many, right?
there's so many, and
All right, favorite female wrestler
right now or of
of all time.
of all time. Female wrestler. Um, I'm going to say, um, I'm gonna say Paige.
All right.
I don't know why I saw her when I went to WrestleMania. I was in line for like 2 hours just to get her and and take a picture with her.
Oh,
I'll say Paige. She
all
was
right.
she
Favorite
was
valet.
uh manager kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Okay.
That guy was funny.
Well,
That guy was,
there's a difference between valet and manager. Valet
oh,
is a female.
oh, okay. Female Miss Elizabeth. Easy.
Okay.
She
And
didn't have to say a word. And she was a star. Uh but then again, you have like Sunny, where she was a great talker, you know. Um and she was good at what she did, you know. So,
Sonny.
Sunny was, what is he does? I don't know what she's up to nowadays, but
You
but
don't know?
well, I yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know what
we'll
she
just
is up
strike
to
that one out
now.
right there.
Yeah,
We'll just strike that one out.
yeah.
Favorite tag team.
The Heart Foundation.
All right, all right, and favorite finishing move.
The sharpshooter.
All right, man. Hey
Easy.
guys, it's been a great hour talking to my guy over here, Marco de la Garza. Uh, Wrestling hour. Today's Survivor Series. I probably won't catch it. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it was definitely fun talking, going down memory lane with you.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And if you
Uh,
ever want to talk wrestling, just hit me up. uh,
I mean, just depending on our views, we might have to do a second show, man.
yeah, we'll see. Don't put that pressure on me.
Hey, do you remember those Titan figurines, man? The Titan Giants. They were like this big, all rubber. All.
Yeah, I had those. I had a
Do you
few of
still
those.
have them?
I have I have one. I have George the Animal Steel. I
Okay.
have that one. Um, and I remember having the Macho Man. But yeah, I had some of those.
It blew my mind. I remember there was just one WrestleMania where they had the complete set of them, right?
Hmm.
And at that time, I believe they were saying, if you have this whole complete set, it's going for like over $1 million. And I was just thinking to myself, man, I should have kept them all in their
I
package.
know. It's like $1 billion, but yeah, I don't think mine's in good shape. My one, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right, Marco. Thank you for joining us. That's all the
All
time we
right.
got for today's podcast. And once again, catch us, share, and subscribe for more content here at the Joe's Bod Podcast. Thank you so much, Marco. I appreciate it. Let me go ahead and roll us out here. Here we go. So, thank you, man. Appreciate you.
All right. Take care, guys.
All
Be
right.
safe. Wear a mask.
Bye bye.